Ashley Hromyak, my journey from Army Airborne to Adjunct Professor, Fitness Coach and Educator. Ashley's got more letters after her name than any Special Forces soldier I know. MS, CSCS, TSAC-F, NASM, PBC, RYT 200. She's an Adjunct Professor of Kinesiology. She's an IFBB Pro, WBB, WP Figure and Wellness, and as I said before, a US Army Airborne veteran. I'm thrilled to share the latest episode of the podcast with you. This time I had the incredible opportunity to sit down with Ashley Hromyak, an airborne veteran, fitness coach, trainer, teacher, and adjunct professor in kinesiology. Her story is nothing short of inspiring, and I can't wait for you to dive into it. Here are some of the key takeaways from our conversation. From military to fitness, Ashley's journey from serving the US Army Airborne to becoming a fitness coach and educator is a testament to resilience and passion. She shares how her military experience, including 2 combat tours in Afghanistan, shaped her dedication to physical fitness. Transitioning to civilian life, discover how Ashley channeled her military discipline into bodybuilding and fitness coaching. Her story of hiring a coach and diving into competitive bodybuilding is both motivating and relatable. Becoming a fitness educator. Learn about Ashley's path to becoming an adjunct professor at George Mason University. Her commitment to education in the fitness industry is truly inspiring. The importance of home gyms. In light of the COVID-19 pandemic, are we still allowed to say that now? Ashley emphasizes the convenience and cost-effectiveness of home gyms. She shares practical tips on creating your own workout space on a budget. Building a supportive community. Ashley highlights the importance of a community in fitness. Whether you're working out at home or in a gym, having a supportive network can make all the difference. Mental and emotional aspects of fitness. Ashley opens up about the mental challenges of bodybuilding, especially for women. She stresses the importance of self-awareness and prioritizing mental health over societal expectations. Client relationships and coaching philosophy. Get insights into Ashley's approach to coaching, which focuses on understanding each client's unique journey and motivations. Her philosophy of addressing both physical and mental aspects of fitness is truly holistic. Safety and boundaries. Ashley shares her thoughts on safety in coaching, particularly for women. Her decision to limit male clients in her home gym for safety reasons is a reminder of the importance of being prepared and making informed choices. Bodybuilding achievements. From turning pro in bodybuilding to winning a Masters Pro show, Ashley's achievements in the fitness world are impressive. Her motivation to compete in multiple categories to enhance her coaching abilities is a testament to her dedication. Self-reflection and growth. Ashley's journey of self-reflection and recognizing when to step back from competition is a powerful reminder of the importance of mental health and self-awareness. Squat Max MD and Brian Hennessy. During our conversation, Ashley shared her thoughts on the Squat Max MD, a revolutionary piece of fitness equipment designed by Brian Hennessy. She praised the versatility and effectiveness, particularly for those looking to maximize their squat workouts. Ashley highlighted how the Squat Max MD allows for a more natural range of motion and reduces the risk of injury, making it an excellent addition to any home gym setup. Connect with Ashley. Ashley is active, I must say, very active on social media, particularly on Instagram and YouTube, where she shares valuable content and insights. If you're looking for inspirational guidance on your fitness journey, be sure to connect with her. I hope that you find this episode as inspiring as I did. Ashley's story is a powerful reminder of the strength found in vulnerability, the importance of education, and the impact of community support in the pursuit of health and fitness. You can find her on Instagram in the show links below, Ashley_the_amazing. And the website, again, the show notes, click on the links below. This one is GoToGrowFitnessLLC.GoDaddySites.com. Thanks for watching. I'm Damien Porter, former New Zealand Special Forces operator, subject matter expert from HowNotToDieGuy.com. And you're listening to my Straight Talk Mind and Muscle podcast, sponsored by State, the ultimate daily formula for optimum hormone health, stress management, energy, and performance. 100% natural and clinically proven ingredients. Provides everything you need to raise your game in a convenient gut-friendly capsule. And my new sponsor, Michael Mason of the Mason Survival Protocol. Links for my former shows are in the show notes below. Thanks for watching. And we're live. Welcome to the Straight Talk Mind and Muscle podcast. Welcome to my guest all the way from USA, Ashley Hromyak. Welcome.
Hey, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, whatever time it is. Nice to be here. Thank you.
I was practicing your name because you've got the most tricky spelling name, but hopefully I got that right this time.
You did. The H is silent. It throws everybody off.
Hey, look, you've got an amazing background. It's funny when people ask me, "Oh, what's your sort of background?" I said, "I've got to get the whiteboard out and I literally go through all the things." Yours looks the same, Ashley. Some throwing some things out there. IFBB Pro, Army Airborne veteran. Prior to the start of the show, I've done the show notes. People have heard it on audio and they've listened to the video, the proper introduction. But for the listeners, would you please take me through or take us through your background from, say, the military to where you are now? Because it's a hell of a journey.
Oh, yes, of course. So I did 9 years, Army Airborne, a couple combat tours. So I traveled the world. Let's see, I went to Afghanistan twice, of course, Bagram, Qatar, Philippines, did all that stuff. And I was very into physical fitness. I've been into physical fitness since I was born, but in the military, like I really just, I guess, honed my craft. Like it just, as I aged, I developed the passion and the learning for it. And my last duty station was at JCSE in MacDill Air Force Base, and our element commander there was a joint unit, was in a colonel in the Marines, and he saw my potential and he decided in 2011, he's like, hey, I'm gonna send some of these my high PT guys to get a CrossFit certification and be able to like teach the unit. So
Right.
sent us to CrossFit level 1 certification. This was like 2011. Got my certification, and then he hired me when I got out to start teaching those kind of functional movements to the unit.
Brilliant.
And it just kind of opened the pathway to me. And then I got other training certifications, and man, you name it. I was on, while I was doing that, I was also doing home shopping network, like fitness model. And then I opened up my own home training business in 2012. Been doing that since. It's like a home gym based business. And then I started competing in bodybuilding and started competing in 2012. I went pro in 2017. And then I've competed at the pro level in 4 different categories. So I did bodybuilding, women's physique, figure, and wellness. I used my GI Bill to get my bachelor's in kinesiology, which is exercise science, and minor in coaching. And
Yep.
then I continued on and got my master's in kinesiology at George Mason, which I'm currently now also an adjunct professor there, teaching a couple courses to the undergrad students in kinesiology.
Wow. Wow, that's stunning. Because I was doing I wanted to have a couple of web pages up for this show just to reference from, and I did some Googling, and it kept coming up Ashley Hromyak, professor. I was like, obviously it's not someone else. Someone else. Sorry, I'm not going to look at that. But you're actually an adjunct professor. That's amazing. Congratulations.
Thank you. This was my first. I was like a teaching assistant while I was in grad school, and so currently I'm ending my first semester, and it was such an amazing experience. I've learned a lot. I've grown a lot, and I actually do love being in the teaching space because I feel like that's what I'm here for. As far as my purpose in life is to teach other people about fitness, and that like you can do anything you want and be good at it. You just got to find what works for you, and so that's it gives me just more opportunity to teach what I love to do.
That's beautiful. I love that, near the start of the show, you talked about your purpose. On your I love Instagram because it makes you be very succinct with your titling. Your title is coach, trainer, teacher, but you said your purpose is to teach, and that comes across so much in what you do with your videos. And we must now speak about how we actually connected. We spoke about it offline before. Shout out to Brian Hennessy, Henny Attachment and Squat Max. That's how I came across you. He was videoing you coming along. I don't know if it was at an expo or you're just trialing the Squat Max out, but he was excited to have you on. You seemed like a kid in a candy store with this new machine. So that's how we connected. And yeah, let's talk about your connection with Brian as well.
So I found Brian on social media. I'm a garage gym person. I grew up, my dad had a home gym. I've always had a home gym, so that's kind of my background and upbringing. But I saw some of his posts with the Henny attachment and Squat Max on social media. And then last year, April of last year, they had the first ever home gym con in French Lick, Indiana. So vendors came and I saw that Squat Max was going to be there. And I reached out to the promoter of that expo, and I was just because he was having different speakers come from all over to talk on like tactical athletes and talk on powerlifting. And I was like, hey, I would love to come and talk about whatever you want. Like I have tons of knowledge and experience. And he's like, we'd love if you give a talk about bodybuilding in the home gym.
Yes.
And so he invited me there. I got to give a talk, and while I was there, Brian Hennessy was there with the Squat Max, which I was like, holy crap, I get to try this new belt squat machine that I've seen and drooled on social media. So yes, that's the video we saw. I got to meet him at the expo and play on his Squat Max, his machine, and now I have one. But yeah, that's how I met Brian.
That's so cool. And I'll circle back to the garage gym thing. That's the other thing that's really caught my attention with you. And I think with so many people that follow you is you build it this amazing physique, and you've got this amazing physical prowess from a garage gym, as you say. And I'm the same. We've got a garage gym out there, and you don't have to go to these commercial gyms to get it. So that's a real point of difference with you. And you just got the new equipment in, which it was the big Smith machine and so on. But let's talk to that. My first bodybuilding was at 17. I won some national and international titles, but most of mine was out of a home gym as well. And I guess people looking from the outside, how do I get started? They think they have to walk into this scary commercial gym. I would say that's not the case. What would you say, Ashley?
Yeah, I would say like the 2020 changed the course of all of our lives. And one of the positive impacts it had is it gave a space for home fitness to open up, right? It gave a lot of people to opportunity to be like, hey, this is, some ideas I've had to create a better space and improvements for those who are working out at home. And some of the things that are out there now, like there is no excuse. And I find working at home, it's convenient, it's time saving. Like for me, my time is the most precious resource I have.
Yep.
I live out in the country. For me to get to the gym, it's at least 30 minutes, if not 35 minutes one way. There's an hour of my day. Then you have to, factor the time of people want to talk. You have to wait on equipment. All of that stuff, to me, is like I could use that time in a more wisely manner to, launch myself in whatever direction I'm working on. And that's just the home gym. So then I tell people you have to get the home gym. You have to be open to it. I have some tips and pointers I could share at some point about like how to create that space and make it work for you. But it is completely doable to train for any kind of event in your garage gym if you just do the research, or reach out to one of the people that's in the home gym community and ask them like, hey, I'm a power lifter. Where do I start? I'm a bodybuilder. Where do I start? And that community is so kind and warm and friendly. They will happily guide you in the direction you need to set you up. Even me, doesn't matter who you are, because strength and conditioning professional here. I'd be more than happy to help people, right, develop whatever they need to be their best selves and work out at home and have that space for them. It's possible.
100%. Well, let's do that. Let's talk through that, and then I'll go back to your military career and try and gel it all together. No, I laugh sometimes. How does an operator and a fireman now become a podcast host? But I'll try and figure it out. So you're so right, and it can also be relatively cost effective. I mean, my thing's a power rack that I bought secondhand. I bought pulleys and use rope with the cables, and I got chains, and some of my discs are disc brakes from my car that I've had to replace. So they're nice 5 kilo weights. So let's ask the question for the soundbite. How would you suggest someone maybe on a budget, not really rich, goes about creating a home gym? What are the first steps that you generally suggest?
I would say get on YouTube. So recently, I just started a YouTube page because I've had companies start sending me equipment to review, because I have that kinesiology background and experience. They're like, hey, we would love your input on what works, what doesn't work, what can we make it better? And especially being a female in the home gym, right? There's already a lot of male YouTubers talking about
Yes.
equipment. But then I would send people to YouTube because there's all the reviews for equipment. They'll say if it's budget friendly, who this equipment is suited for, what's good about it, what it does about it. So there's a free resource right there for any question you have. It's going to be on YouTube. I am getting in that space and I'm blown away about all the amazing content that's there to tell people like, hey, like I recently did one on the Smith machine I got from to do a review. And it's a budget friendly machine. I go over the pros and cons, what it would be good for. So I would send people like go to that search bar in YouTube and start just watching some content and see what kind of speaks to you or you're interested in.
Beautiful. And you're so right. YouTube is a great resource. There's so many people putting things out there, as you said, for free. And I noticed that when, I think that we're all excited to see you get the Smith machine in, build it up and put it out there. And then you said, for my full review, go to YouTube. So we'll obviously have those links in the show notes. And is that something you're going to be growing along with your Instagram and so on as your YouTube content?
Yes, because now I have somebody else that's sending me another piece next week. So it is definitely something that, like me just making content in my home gym kind of allowed me some space to grow because companies see that. And now they are sending me equipment so that I can review, give them feedback. And yeah, so that's why I created the YouTube channel because all these opportunities were coming. And I said, why not? Why not share my perspective with my diverse background, like you said, and my education, and give people that kind of knowledge and resource. And I also eventually am working towards something I'm going to be doing this summer is creating some content for people, especially I'm looking for the female demographic about how to use some of this equipment, like going over like, hey, here's a workout, follow along with me, so that they can not only know what equipment they need, but how to use it.
Yes, absolutely. Um, it's interesting you say about YouTube. I think video is a great way to put across your message because it's difficult to be misconstrued. Um, I love that you said sharing your knowledge because that's what we do. People of our genre. I wasn't going to say age because I won't lump you in with my old age. But I'm a bit remiss on YouTube because you can't search Instagram. Instagram is great for videos, but you can't search word verbiage and so on. But YouTube you can, so it's got to go on there. Um, I will, and I'll say it to you here. I'll hook you up with the guys from Advanced Muscle Mechanics, and they'll probably send you a launch pad, which is an amazing thing that I've used for my all my bench press. Anything I'm on a bench with supine, the launch pad allows my shoulders to move really, really well. So I'll hook you up with them after our show, and that'll be another nice thing for you to review and have in there.
Awesome. Yeah, thank you.
Um, Now we talked about home gym, which is really what you're known for. Let's go back to the military, and I jumped on, like I said, a little bit more research quickly, and there was your 2011, I think, photo of leaving the military. It's very different than your bodybuilding photos. It's very different how you present now and the way your body looks. But you were super fit in the military. So let's talk about the transition from military to civilian, and then I'll also just prepping you, I'll also be asking about the difference in the transition in your body. So what was it like transitioning out of the military, given, and maybe for the listeners, you're an actual veteran from 3 combat deployments. I'm not sure what your role was, but what was the transitioning like for you there?
The transitioning was for me. I was ready for it. I was ready to. I love the military. It was the best. It was the number one best thing I have ever done for myself. And then getting out, I knew when I was in the military, I was as a performance-based athlete. I was a hardcore runner. I did marathons and 5Ks, like you name it. I did it when it come to performance-based. And then I kind of started reading these magazines. One was called Oxygen Fitness we had here in the United
I
States.
remember
And
oxygen,
it showed
yes.
these, yeah, it showed these females and they looked so strong and they were competing. And I looked at them and I said, wow, like I want to do that. So as I transitioned out, I hired a coach, and it kind of, right, because your military is so rigid and scheduled and structured. And bodybuilding kind of made that transition easy because then I still had the structure and the schedule and the routine. So I went straight from the military into hiring a coach into like, I'm gonna compete in my first show. And so that transition was good because then I just went right in from performance athlete, running, push-ups, sit-ups, jumping into bodybuilding, but still, dialing in my nutrition, still getting up at early to train and do my cardio. So for me, it was smooth and it was right. I was so ready for it.
So there was no void there, like so many of us have. We have a void of purpose and a void of what the hell do we do? But you really had that void filled almost immediately.
Yes, like I am grateful for that about myself that I'm able to like I'm very goal oriented. So I always like look, okay, what's next? What's next? I never have a moment where I'm not sure what I'm doing because I'm so passionate and just so ready for life and all the opportunities that I just go for it and it just seems to flow one thing into another. And so for me, yeah, there was no void. It was just opportunity meets passion, and then success.
And so clever with I don't remember the rank you said, but you essentially your CO, getting you guys skilled up. You left the military, but he's going to hire someone back with subject matter experience. That's a really clever thing, and it wouldn't have happened in the older days, but really clever thing for him to do because he's not losing Ashley, who he trained. He's actually getting the information back. It's just that someone else is paying.
Yes. Yeah, that was, and I still, his name is Colonel Stephen Corcoran, and we still keep in touch to this day. He was been such a great mentor and just advisor to me through a lot of things since I've gotten out. He has been paramount in. I am grateful for his guidance over the years.
It's so nice to hear the military giving back. My first experience with it was Dr. Kirk Parsley. He's in Texas. Good friend of mine. He was a Navy SEAL, and left the SEALs to become a doctor. And went back, paid for by the Navy, and went back into the SEALs as their doctor. And he's so humble because I only just found out the other day from another guest that he was the head medical doctor for Warcom. I'm like, I don't know what these acronyms are, but that sounded like a big deal, right?
Ah, that is a big deal. When I was
But
in, I got to the rank of staff sergeant. I was in E6, so I was enlisted.
yep. But giving back, because he'd seen it um, from the operator side, and his claim to fame, he's invented a sleep formula. But the reason he did it was because all the guys, his friends, because you would have seen the guys when you trained, a year later coming back, his friends were saying, "Listen, I'm on antidepressants and sleeping pills, essentially either addicted to them or just using them as crutches for what we've seen, and then trying to get to sleep." And of course, their testosterone is tanked. So he basically, well, go get this supplement, go get this supplement, and he's really trying to give back to the guys. And it was absolutely brilliant. He got one guy back from I think he was about a 37-year-old male lieutenant, colonel or something, some kind of rank, and his testosterone was that of a 67-year-old man. 2 years later, his PBing, his testosterone is like of a 27-year-old man, just from fixing the sleep.
That's amazing. Good for him for, yes, for focusing on and understanding how important sleep is for human action.
Human recovery. But those guys would never have talked to the doctor unless this was him.
Yeah.
So somebody from inside that role going back and giving back, I really congratulate you on doing that. Let's maybe look at your military experience, as you said, because your face just lit up when you said it was the best thing you ever done. And same for me. What made you join the army?
Um, I have a twin sister and we did everything together in high school. We worked together, we played soccer together. Like we were very, I wouldn't say like, when you're a twin, it's just sometimes we had our own identities, but I just felt like I needed to do my own thing.
Hmm.
She is super giftedly smart, and I have always been very more on the athletic side. And, she got the college scholarship, and I didn't see that college was something that I was ready for. I needed more groundwork. I needed more time out in the wild. So I was like, I'm gonna join the Army. Like I enlisted when I was 17. My parents had to sign the waiver. I signed up for Army Airborne because I just knew that like I need to go figure out my life, do me, just
Yep.
get my own feet on the ground and get my own identity and figure out myself.
Wow, at 17, that's a big thing. Um, Airborne, we don't have that here, and I'm from New Zealand. I live in Australia, but we've got Army, Navy, and Air Force, and we don't have Army Airborne. So there's a big difference there. I know a little bit. I'm sure the listeners don't. What made you join Airborne, and what is the difference there?
So Airborne is we're the guys that jump out of the airplanes in a parachute. So I saw that and I just thought I love challenges. And they said, "Hey, this is tough, like especially for females." And I said, "Then sign me up." Like that, I want that. And so they showed me the video of people running and jumping out of airplanes and it looked all the recruiter made it look all like Hollywood, but he said, "Hey, this is pretty hardcore." And I said, "Then that's for me."
That's awesome. Was there any females in at the time in the Airborne?
Yeah, so my class was just over like 400 and there was probably about 10.
That's
Not
a
all of them made it. Luckily for me, I'm one of the bigger females, so I could carry the heavy packs and stay in the runs, but the smaller females weren't able to. Most of them failed out.
and that's just a physical thing. I mean, up at New Zealand SAS, often we'd hear of females coming up for selection, but the packs weigh about 40 kilos. If you do that into pounds, I think it's 88 pounds. It's just you got
Yep,
to do the math.
yep,
When a woman's weighing 50 kilos and you got to carry a 40-kilo pack, the math just physically doesn't add up, unless they
yep.
are like one of the top people in the world and can do that.
Exactly. Yes, 100%. The weight of the full combat load with parachute and combat equipment, the smaller females, the ratio is like 1 to 1. Like they couldn't, they couldn't do it.
They'd be like end up like a turtle on their back.
Yes.
So, what was your job in the military, in the airborne, Ashley?
So I was IT. So I worked with like programming routers and switches and servers and satellites and um, anything from secure to non-secure network communications, videos. So on every deployment, like I was the team chief that kind of gave everybody on that camp all the comms.
Yep. And super important, especially at the start when you're landing, especially when you're airborne, because you guys are the forward deployed people. You need that information relayed back super quick.
Yeah.
Okay, awesome. So that's your military side of things. Um, 2011, you've finished that. You've got qualified CrossFit, which was super. That's really early. That was interesting when you said CrossFit qualification. I left the unit in 2009, and I like to say to people when they talk about CrossFit, well, the army invented CrossFit, but it wasn't called CrossFit. It was called Death by Circuit. It was our nickname for it.
Yes, yes, yeah, that's a good name.
So you must have been one of the early uptakers of CrossFit, the certification, and you did kettlebell certifications as well.
Yep. Yeah.
So going into bodybuilding, that's very different than the running you were doing and so on. And the photo blew my mind. I've got the same photo. I've got a photo of me when I'm doing 50K runs, 30K runs, and I don't have abs. I mean, I'm slim, but I don't have abs. And then there's when you actually focus on your body and very different look. So what was it like going into the pro side of bodybuilding? Because you said 2017 you turned pro and you went in all these divisions. How was that?
That was a good experience because one of the reasons why I went into all the divisions is because I also coach, and I
Hmm.
figure what better way, which this is what the Army taught me, what better way to um, lead others than to do it yourself. So I
Yes.
said, I'm going to try out different categories over my time just to kind of understand what it takes so that when I lead somebody, I can say, hey, I can speak to it like, hey, this is my experience. I've been there. So that was a blast. I enjoyed competing. I loved like women's physique is the category where, I went pro. That was my wheelhouse. Um, but then like over the years, just the way the categories were going and the development, I knew that wasn't for me. So then I started downsizing and did figure and then started downsizing and did wellness in 2021. And then after that, I just felt like kind of with marathons, I felt like I accomplished all I wanted to accomplish. I like for the marathons, I placed second in one of my marathons for the military,
Wow.
one of them. And then, for bodybuilding, I went pro and I won a master's pro show. And I just felt like, okay, I need to go on to my next adventure so that I can, get more experience in something else and get to the high level and that and just keep on going. So that was my experience of bodybuilding. Like I loved every minute of it. It taught me so much about myself. And I feel like I reached my max capacity of where I wanted to go. And then, 2021, probably my last shows for a while. I don't see myself competing anytime soon because I have other adventures that I'm working on.
I've never heard such an answer from a bodybuilder. And I don't say that lightly, Ashley. So I've heard something similar from Dorian Yates, who is lining up to come on the show. So I'm excited there. But I've heard thank you. I've heard an interesting take on that from Ben Kukulski. The reason I say this, and listeners, I believe bodybuilding for females is incredibly dangerous mentally, emotionally. And what you said, Ashley, and how you present was exactly how it's supposed to be done. From experience, and you said you need to coach with experience. I can talk to someone for doing a bodybuilding competition or physique competition, whatever you want to say, about the eating disorder side, about the body dysmorphia side, because you're in amazing shape for 60 seconds. That was what the males had on stage. Amazing shape for
Yeah.
60 seconds, and it's a peak. Now, most females really can't come to grips with that for afterwards. And you literally said you sort of downsize, and then it obviously was an ego. And then you were happy with what you'd done. You achieved your peak, job done, big tick. Now next adventure. Most people, particularly if they lose, and I've lost, and then I came back and won. But when the egos are involved, it can really hurt you. And I really, I firmly believe, from interviewing females, from coaching females, that when that ego is involved, or self-image, whatever word you want to use, it can really be detrimental. You don't seem to have done that, and also you're staying in amazing shape. So, given that sort of context I've talked about there, could you please talk to the female side of positive bodybuilding, because you've done that, and it's just so rare.
Yes, I will. So I will say there was a point where I did start having that self-image, and I never felt good enough. I never felt big enough or lean enough, and I started hating myself.
Oh,
And when I started that, I was like, okay, I need to take a step back here and see like what is going on. And that's when I kind of did a deep dive into my own, like, hey, like what am I trying to achieve here? Like why, like, and into my ego work and self-awareness. And then I decided, all right, like 2019, I said, I'm going to retire from women's physique and any of the bigger categories. So I said, this is no longer something that is helping me. It is now hurting me. And that's got to be like, I want to tell females, like, that's a sign. If you are in this cycle of self-love and self-hate, like you need to be aware, like, hey, that's a sign saying something's not right here, and take a step back and see, like, okay, is this still good for me, or is there another direction I could go that I would still love and still enjoy doing without the cost of my self-worth and my self-esteem. So I had to go through that too. So that's my advice, like how you feel and how you see yourself, and if at any point you have one of those negative thoughts, you need to ask yourself, like, why am I thinking this? And is this something that I can work through and still come out positive? Or is this just going to be the endless cycle? Because for a lot of females, it is that cycle of love and hate and never good enough. And I would say if you're there, then try something new because there's so many other fun things out there. And I will say, this is one thing I want to stress, is that I feel as though the females I work with, they feel as though if they walk away, like people are going to think less of them or that they didn't make it. And that's not the case. At the end of the day, nobody cares if you get on stage and look perfect other than you. Your friends will still love you, your family will still love you, and you will still love yourself if you give yourself that space to do so.
wow, thank you. When you were talking through that part, that 2019 part, what inspired that for you to self-reflect? What was that sort of catalyst? If you're okay to talk about it, but
Yeah.
it must have been a switch that flicked there to go from this is me paraphrasing. I don't mean to be brutal, but sort of woe is me, and I'm in this dark hole. What was that light bulb moment that sort of got you maybe looking a way out?
And I reached this pinnacle of 2019. I won. It was a master's show, so it was 35. It was pro show 35 and over, and I won it for bodybuilding, for women's physique, and I got sixth place in figure. And afterwards, the judge comes up to me and he said, you were supposed to win, like everybody wanted you to win for figure, but we couldn't reward you because then it would give the girls like a disproportionate, like, hey, how can the same girl won all three? But
Right.
he's like, we like it was how I posed, right? You can pose differently to show yourself bigger or smaller.
Yep.
And I felt good. I'm like, holy crap, like I just took the show, and yet I still hated myself. I
Yeah.
still was like, man, I still have so much work to do. And that was kind of like the moment where I'm like, no, you're done here, Ashley. Like you won, and like you are good enough. So calm down, take a step back, and just let this go.
Oh, there she is. Wow, that's amazing. What's really interesting with what you answered there, but in particular the one before, is it helping me or hurting me? Steve Hansen, the New Zealand All Blacks rugby coach for 10 years. He was my peak for the podcast, and now I'm moving on to others as well. He said the same thing. His quote was, if he's up there in the coach's box and something bad happens to the team down on the field, and they look up at the big screen and they see him jumping up and down, that's not going to help the team out. And everything that the All Blacks rugby team has as a principle is this helping the team or hurting the team? He's part of the team, the physio's part of the team. So, is this interaction with the public hurting the team or helping them, and so on and so on. And what he emphasized, and he taught me about parenting just from his principles, was self-reflection, continual self-reflection. With that in mind, what's your end state to achieve? And his is helping the team and moving forward. And now his aim is to be a better husband and a better father because he was busy. But that self-reflection, you literally mirrored my guest from a month ago saying the same thing from a female's perspective from a different sport.
That's amazing. And I follow the All Blacks on social media. I think they're so impressive. So just to know that we have the same kind of thought pattern on that is that's amazing. That's incredible.
Yeah, thank you. They are awesome to watch, and I'll send you the show. And some of the SEAL Team Six guys are the same. They follow the same principles, the humility, and that trying to leave the jersey or leave the for the operator, leave that place, that call sign, in a better place than when you got it. But that self-reflection and self-image that you spoke about was really, really helpful, I think, for people to hear. Um, yeah, amazing, absolutely amazing. And it does come down to that happiness. You talked about love a lot. I love that you said, just because you're not going to be on stage, everybody else is still going to love you. That you're still their daughter, you're still their mum, and so on.
Yeah.
It reminded me of when I go in the gym. I mean, I love being. You were the best. I think one of the websites says you're one of the fittest on your base. Um, Same thing with me. I always want to be the best. We always try and do that. But nobody cares how much weight you lift, and nobody cares how much you run in the gym. It's just you're doing your thing.
Yes, 100%. Yeah. At the end of the day, people just care how you treat them. Not like, they don't care if you're the best. The only person that cares is you.
What a perfect segue when you say how you treat them into what you do now. And I think I'm tying it all together now. Coach, trainer, teacher. You're coaching other people, you're training other humans, and you're teaching other humans either at university or at in person. So maybe you could explain for people listening just how you take a client on board, and what sort of journey is, and how you work with them.
Oh, when somebody seeks me out, we usually start with a talk. Like I have them call me. I prefer maybe like a FaceTime or something like that, or a Zoom so I can see them. But some
Definitely.
people, they're a little uncomfortable the first time, so they like to just have a phone call. And I just like to understand them and ask them questions, to figure out who they are and why they reached this point. And that can get really personal more often than not, because most of my clientele that I work with in person are female because, of course, I work from home and I don't allow males in my space in my home unless I actually know them or they're referred just for safety. So I work with a lot of females. More often than not, eventually in that conversation, they do cry because I want to get that emotional response. Like, why are you here now? Like, what is your why? And then from there, right, I make notes because I also have a background in yoga. Yoga Alliance certified, which that is amazing in itself, right? Because that certification, you really have to dive into self-awareness and reflection and about dealing with the ego. So I use that to not only like, I don't just give them, hey, this is your workout. I also give them kind of one or two things each week in their program to self-reflect or to think on to work on because they're not going to change unless I change their habits and their mindset. So as I do on social media, if you've ever watched my stories, I've been doing this for years. I say I'm going to plant a seed. And when I speak of that, I say I'm going to plant a seed in your mind. And it might not grow today, but down the line, just because you've heard it, it might start sprouting and you water it and you give it some sunshine and it grows. And I just want to plant these seeds of thought of like, hey, here's something to think about today to improve yourself or how you see things or do things that might make life a little bit better for you. So that's kind of how I treat clients is I want to see like, yeah, I want to change your physical state. And that's important to me, but your mindset with that, I want to bring your mindset along as well.
And to emphasize to the listeners how important that is, I've had Julie Dickerson on the show. She went from 260 pounds, 130 kilos, down to a bikini competitor and now a fitness model. She had no mirrors in the house and no photographs of her. Saw a photograph of herself at Christmas Day that someone took, and she lost all that weight. But she had to make the psychological change. The psychological changes first, and she's brutal on it. She's done the work, and she's just so clear that you have to choose to make that change in your mind. You said, you want to understand them and then understand their why. You need to understand that person. Otherwise, you're just giving a program. They're not going to do it because I'm sure Julie had
Yep.
seen tons of exercise programs and routines in her life until she decided. So it's super important to know your client and know how to coach and put your arm around them sometimes, maybe even a kick in the bum to get their head straight.
Yeah, it's all about developing that human connection and like just they need to know you care about them and their well-being. Like instead of just right, we could easily hand out cookie cutter weight programs and be like, hey, go do this. But at the end of the day, it's like, I see you, I hear you, and I'm here for you. And that in itself, just to know that someone's there, that they right, because even as trainers, we're not necessarily involved in their personal lives. So we're kind of like this outside unbiased source of motivation and support that we don't know all their nitty gritty things, but we know enough about them to be like kind of like a sounding board or a rock for them to push them and motivate them and change them. So like I'm grateful that I get to work with people and help them and be that for them.
I'm great. I'm so glad that you said that because it's an honor for me when you do get to help someone in that way because they're putting trust in you, and you and I know from the military that trust can mean someone's life physically in your hands, and I don't take that lightly. So it is an honor to work with people in that way and to be able to help them, but to be able to have the skill set professionally to be able to do that.
Yeah, it truly is. It is a blessing because, like you said, I mean, there's nothing more important than like when you're in the military, the man next to you or the woman next to you, and being able to know that they have your back. That feeling is so, it gives you a feeling of sense of security and safety. And I want to just provide, I want to be that for others. They're like, hey, I have you. Like, even if you fail, I will pick you up and make sure we try something new until we figure it out.
That comes across on your social media, clearly comes across here. So thank you so much for explaining that. You said something there when you were talking about working with a client that I can't let go because I'm how not to die guy. That's what I do. And that's what I've transitioned to using my training experience to help others in the self-defense or self-protection space. And you said you don't let males into your space unless you know them because of safety. And this is really for listeners. You, A, are a strong woman, B, educated, and C, technically a trained killer. And I say that for the listeners because as a soldier, every soldier is taught to seek out and kill or capture the enemy. I'm not sure exactly what the words are for America, but that's the basics. And yet you are smart enough to say, no, I'm not going to let an unknown male into my space. That's literally the start of self-protection. That's one of the smartest things I've heard. Could you just elaborate on that a little bit? Why that thought process is there and not being scared about it, but literally just making an informed decision?
Yes, yeah, as you said, like it's not that I'm scared about it. I mean, it's just being prepared because you have to do like the risk versus reward. I don't know who this person is. I don't know their background. I don't know who they're capable of. But since I own a licensed home gym, like they're gonna know have my address. I only have one door in and out. Like I don't have a separate door that goes into my garage gym. So when it's cold out, it's not like my garage is down. It's just saying like, hey, like it's not worth it to me. So it's a risk versus reward. If it's not, I just don't want to put myself in that kind of situation. It's not smart. Like yeah, that's it. It's just
Yeah.
not worth it. You never know what someone's capable of or what their motives are, especially being a female in this space. Like I've received some really strange, emails and messages that like people in this area, like when I was in school, I got some really creepy stalker kind of messages that they watch my routine and know where I park. And it's just, you never know who's watching you. So always just watch out for yourself.
Yeah, so clever, and just so humble as well. And I preface that, you've learned to kill other humans, you learn to do all these things, but you're not gonna just beat your chest and say, "Oh, I have a right to do this," or I'm strong enough. And Chris Kyle, if anybody's seen American Sniper, and it's a dramatized movie, it's definitely not what he did in real life. And I've spoken to some people about that. Chris Kyle's a perfect example, an unknown person that he took and had a gun, and Chris Kyle's not around anymore because of that reason. But just really clever, and I love that you've sort of done that empowering thing. You're not scared about it, but you're just smart, and that's a smart decision to do. So I want to congratulate you on that as well.
Thank you. One of the things I say all the time is just because you can doesn't mean you should. So just because
Wow.
I can do that, like doesn't mean I should. Like I have that capability, but should I do it? Probably not. Like just because I can doesn't mean I should.
Oh, absolutely. I interviewed uh, Gary Fahey. He was the head bodyguard, or the head of the bodyguard team for the Australian Prime Minister at one stage here, and he stated his job is to run and hide with the Prime Minister. That doesn't sound very manly, and they sure as hell can do all the manly things, but that's not their job. And we're not the egotistical people that go around beating their chests, and just because I can stand up to that guy doesn't mean I will. You're much more clever to get away.
Yeah.
Look, I just couldn't let that one go because it was such a nugget there. Um, Again, the show notes have got all the links and things, but you talked about working with your clients, and at the start of the show, you talked about your purpose. Where's the best place for people to connect with you if they want to work with you or just find out more about you?
I'm pretty I'm very active on Instagram, so I'm Ashley the Amazing, and that's 332. When I say 332, it's Ashley three underscores the three underscores two underscores amazing two underscores, or in my there's a link in my bio there to email me. And I'm now on YouTube as of last week, so I'm Ashley the Amazing on YouTube. So I'll start posting weekly content on there, and I'm always looking for if you ever have any, like I'm here to help. So if you have any questions, comments, nutrition, training, gym equipment, like I'm happy to help.
It's uh, it's so common with guests that I choose to come on this show. And I mean high-end guests. I mean, I mentioned Steve Hansen. His was just a text message, and this guy's coming on. I'm like, I thought I'd have to get through all these people to get to you. Jeff Nichols, a former SEAL Team 6 guy, who's a strength and conditioning guy. People just messaging him and he's giving advice back. I just find people of our genre and ilk are so helpful. I get messages that I'm not going to make any money off. What could I do in this situation? Why not help those people? It takes nothing to type it back, and it might save their life. In your case, it might get them out of the hole, might help them with eating disorder, might help them on their road to their own physical fitness journey. But yeah, I also want to say to the listeners and viewers, if you just type in Ashley Hromyak online, you're going to get everything perfectly about you. So you are very easy to find.
It's good.
Hey, it's been amazing to have you on the show. I really mean that. But I had no idea where we're going to go with things. I love that you talked about the self-image and your journey there. and you're a real role model for fitness for females, and you're inspirational just in general as well.
I appreciate that. Thank you so much for the kind words and having me on and reaching out to me. Like this is, I am grateful for the opportunity to speak with you.
Yeah, you're very welcome. Look, thank you so much for coming on. We'll have a quick chat afterwards, and yeah, looking forward to watching more of your videos, and I hope that anybody listening to this gets the chance to have a quick chat to you or find out more about you and get some of that magic and that charisma that you put out.
Thank you.
Hi, thanks for watching. I'm Damien Porter, former New Zealand Special Forces operator and former Australian police officer, and your podcast host. Please check out my new project at hownottoDieAguy.com, where I teach everything you need to know to both males and females, at-risk populations, schools, kids, and the elderly for self-defense, situational awareness, and all-round skills that every good person should know. Thanks for watching.